Watch the steam rising in the quiet air. It curls and twists, a phantom ribbon of white against the dark, quiet backdrop of the room. It dances with a slow, hypnotic rhythm, disappearing into the ether as it cools, carrying with it the scent of wet earth, of dried flowers, of distant, mist-shrouded mountains. Focus on the amber liquid resting still within the porcelain cup. It is a pool of liquid light, warm and inviting. Imagine the weight of the ceramic in your hands, the gentle heat radiating through the clay, seeping into your palms, softening the tension in your fingers, travelling up your arms and settling into your shoulders. There is a profound stillness here, a pause in the turning of the world, centred entirely on this simple ancient vessel of warmth. You're safe here. You're warm. There is nothing else that requires your attention, only the gentle swirl of the steam and the promise of rest. As you watch the steam dissipate, understand that you do not need to try to remember what you're about to hear. There is no test, no requirement to catalogue facts, no need to organise this information. Your subconscious mind is a vast, silent library, stretching out into the infinite dark. It will absorb these 101 truths while you rest, placing them on shelves you need not see, preserving them in the quiet archives of your deep mind. You are merely the observer, floating on the surface of a gentle stream. Let the words wash over you like warm water. Let them be a lullaby of knowledge. Just let go. We drift now, carried by that current of steam, travelling back through the corridors of time to the very source of this comfort. It begins not in a cup, but on a high, remote hillside shrouded in perpetual fog. All true tea comes from a single species of plant, the Camellia sinensis. It is an evergreen shrub, resilient and ancient, belonging to the flowering plant family Theaceae. Picture its leaves, glossy, dark green, with serrated edges that catch the morning dew. These leaves are leathery to the touch, built to withstand the chill of high altitudes, yet they possess an inner chemistry capable of producing the most delicate flavours on earth. This single botanical ancestor is the mother of all teas, whether green, black, white or oolong. They are all children of the same evergreen queen. The story of how this glossy leaf first met hot water is steeped in the mists of legend, drifting to us from the year 2737 BCE. It is said that the mythical Chinese Emperor Shennong, a divine farmer and herbalist, was resting beneath the shade of a wild tea tree during a long journey. A servant was boiling water for him to drink, purifying it with heat, when a sudden breeze, a breath of destiny from the mountains, shook the branches above. A few dried leaves detached from the canopy and fluttered down, landing in the boiling cauldron. The clear water turned a rich, inviting colour, and a fragrance unlike any other rose with the steam. Shennong, intrigued by the aroma, tasted the accidental infusion and found it to be refreshing, restorative and clearing to the mind. Thus, in a moment of serendipity between the wind, the tree and the water, tea was born. From that single tree the cultivation of tea spread, but it has always yearned for the sky. The finest teas are often high-grown, cultivated at elevations ranging from 3,000 to 7,000 feet above sea level. Imagine these terraced gardens carved into the sides of steep mountains, where the air is thin and crisp. In these high places the tea bushes grow slowly, their development retarded by the cool temperatures and the reduced oxygen. This struggle for survival is what gifts the leaf its complexity. Because the plant grows so slowly, it has time to concentrate its flavours, drawing rich minerals from the rocky soil and developing a sophisticated profile that low-grown teas can never match. It is a lesson in patience. The most beautiful results require time and a slow, steady ascent. Within these slowly growing leaves lies a unique molecule, a chemical key to tranquility known as L-theanine. This amino acid is rare in nature, found almost exclusively in the tea plant and certain mushrooms. When you consume tea, L-theanine enters your system and begins a gentle waltz with your brain chemistry. It promotes the generation of alpha brainwaves, the electrical pulses associated with a state of wakeful relaxation. It is the same state of mind achieved during deep meditation or when daydreaming by a window on a rainy afternoon. Unlike the jittery energy of other stimulants, the energy of tea is grounded and calm, a state of alert stillness that allows the body to rest while the mind floats freely, untethered and peaceful. Consider the most delicate expression of this plant, white tea. This variety is the least processed of all teas, closest to the living leaf on the branch. It is harvested only during a brief window in the early spring, often before the tea buds have fully opened. These young buds are covered in fine, silvery white hairs, soft as down, which protect the new growth from cold. Once plucked, the leaves are simply allowed to wither and dry in the gentle sunlight. There is no rolling, no crushing, no violent heat. It is a preservation of innocence, capturing the fresh, vegetal essence of the plant at its most vulnerable and pristine moment. Drinking white tea is like tasting the air of a spring morning in a cup. Moving along the spectrum of transformation, we find green tea. Here, the goal is to freeze time. To create green tea, the leaves are harvested and immediately exposed to heat, either by steaming, as is common in Japan, or by pan-firing in large woks, as is traditional in China. This sudden application of heat deactivates the enzymes in the leaf that would otherwise cause it to brown and oxidize. It is an act of preservation, locking in the chlorophyll and the fresh, grassy notes of the harvest. The leaves remain vibrant green, retaining the memory of the sun and the soil. When the hot water unfurls them in your cup, they are returning to the state they held the moment they were plucked, a resurrection of the harvest in liquid form. Drifting further into the art of manipulation, we encounter the complex dragon known as oolong. This is a semi-oxidized tea, existing in the vast and nuanced middle ground between green and black. Producing oolong is an art form requiring the touch of a master. The leaves are plucked and then deliberately bruised, shaken in bamboo baskets until the edges of the leaves begin to break down on a cellular level. This bruising exposes the juices to the air, starting the process of oxidation only along the rim of the leaf. The tea master watches and smells the leaves, stopping the oxidation at the precise moment by applying heat. The result is a leaf with a green centre and reddish-brown edges, producing a liquor that can taste of orchids, cream, lilies, or roasted grain, a complex tapestry of flavour woven from partial change. If we allow the process of oxidation to run its full course, we arrive at black tea. In the West, it is the most common tea, but in China it is known as red tea for the coppery colour of the liquid. To make black tea, the leaves are rolled and crushed, fully breaking the cell walls and exposing the entirety of the leaf's chemistry to oxygen. They are left to rest in cool, humid rooms, where they turn from green to a deep, rich brown, much like a sliced apple left on a counter. This complete oxidation creates robust, bold flavours, malty, earthy, sometimes smoky. It is the tea of comfort, of strength, a dark, warming brew that holds its own against milk and sugar, a sturdy anchor in a storm. Yet, even beyond black tea, there is a category that embraces the passage of time. Post-fermented tea, most famously pu'er. Unlike other teas that are best consumed fresh, pu'er is designed to age, like a fine wine. The leaves are processed and then compressed into tight cakes, bricks, or mushroom shapes. Over years, sometimes decades, natural microorganisms ferment the tea within these cakes. The flavour deepens, mellows, and transforms, shedding the bitterness of youth and acquiring the smooth, dark richness of age. A vintage cake of pu'er carries the history of the years it has seen, a library of seasons compressed into a single disc of leaves, waiting to be woken by water. But the leaf is only half of the equation. The other half is the element that holds it. Ancient tea masters taught that water is the mother of tea. The quality of the water determines the soul of the brew. In the classical texts, water from mountain springs, flowing over stones, aerated by tumbling waterfalls and filtered by the earth, was considered the supreme choice. This living water, charged with minerals and oxygen, is the perfect partner for the leaf. It is said that the water must be heated with care. The bubbles in the boiling water are observed closely. The early stages, with tiny bubbles like crab eyes, are too cool. The violent rolling boil is old water too agitated. The perfect moment is when the bubbles are like fish eyes, rising in a steady, gentle stream, a harmony of heat that coaxes the spirit from the leaf without scorching it. As the water quiets, finding its stillness within the vessel, our attention drifts to the clay that cradles it. In the misty province of Jiangsu, there exists a unique earth known as xisha, or purple sand. From this ancient mineral-rich soil, artisans craft the legendary Yixing teapots. These are not merely containers, they are breathing vaults of memory. Unlike the sealed, glassy surface of porcelain, Yixing clay is unglazed and porous, filled with microscopic caverns invisible to the eye. When the hot tea liquor touches the interior walls, the clay inhales, absorbing a tiny fraction of the essential oils, the tannins, and the soul of the brew. Over years of faithful service, a Yixing pot begins to change. It seasons, it darkens, taking on a gentle, oily sheen, a patina that can only be earned through the passage of time and the ritual of pouring. A pot used for decades to brew a specific roasted oolong will eventually retain so much of the tea's essence that one could pour in plain boiling water and pour out a fragrant, ghostly tea born solely from the memory stored within the clay walls. It teaches us that nothing is truly lost, that every experience leaves a mark, enriching the vessel, just as every moment of rest enriches your mind. And as this knowledge settles into the porous spaces of your own memory, your breathing slows, deepening, matching the rhythm of the earth itself. Inside the pot, a silent ballet begins, a phenomenon poignantly named the agony of the leaf. Though the name suggests pain, visually, it is a dance of liberation. Watch closely as the dried, twisted leaves, tightly curled into intricate shapes like tiny scrolls or needles, meet the warmth of the water. They begin to unfurl. It is a slow, graceful expansion, a stretching of limbs after a long slumber. The leaves absorb the hydration, swelling and returning to their original natural geometry. As they expand, they release tiny ribbons of colour, swirling helixes of amber, gold, or emerald that drift through the water like smoke through the air. This extraction is the tea releasing its body into the liquid. The heavy, dry knot of the leaf relaxes, surrendering its grip on the flavours it has guarded since the harvest. It is a total release of tension, a physical sigh, mirroring the way your own muscles are now loosening, uncoiling, and finding their natural resting length. There is no rush in this unfurling. It happens at the precise speed of nature, governed only by heat and time. Drifting from the leaf to the powder, the scene shifts to a vibrant electric green. In the shaded rows of Japan, tea plants destined for matcha are covered with bamboo mats or tarps for weeks before harvest. This darkness forces the plant to struggle, to overproduce chlorophyll in a desperate bid to catch the dim light. This suffusion of chlorophyll turns the leaves a deep, intense emerald. Once steamed and dried, the veins and stems are painstakingly removed, leaving only the tenderest flesh of the leaf, which is then ground between heavy granite stones. The grinding is agonizingly slow. Too much friction would burn the delicate powder, producing only a small tin's worth of matcha in an hour. The result is a dust as fine as talc, a velvet suspension that does not dissolve but hangs in the water. To whisk it, one uses a chasen, a tool carved from a single piece of bamboo split into dozens of impossibly thin tines. The sound of the chasen whisking the tea, chick, is a rapid, rhythmic heartbeat, whipping air into the liquid until a dense jade-coloured foam rises to the surface. It is a cloud of green, bitter and sweet, thick and restorative, a texture that coats the tongue and calms the spirit. From the intimacy of the bowl, the mind's eye pans back, soaring over the rugged snow-capped peaks of the Himalayas and the winding trails of Yunnan. We see the ghost of the ancient tea-horse road. For over 1,000 years, this network of paths carved into the sheer sides of mountains served as the lifeline between the tea forests of China and the horses of Tibet. It was a journey of immense endurance. Picture the porters, laden with hundreds of pounds of compressed tea bricks strapped to their backs, walking step by rhythmic step over slippery moss and jagged stone. They walked through rain that never ceased, through mists that hid the drop-offs, through thin air that burned the lungs. Yet this road was a bridge of civilization. The tea they carried was not a luxury, it was survival, providing essential vitamins and warmth to the nomads of the high plateaus. Today, the stones of the path are worn smooth, polished by millions of footsteps and the hooves of mules, a testament to the persistence of trade and the universal need for comfort. The silence of these mountains is vast now. The echoes of the caravans faded, leaving only the wind singing through the valleys. A vast, empty quiet that invites your mind to wander into the white spaces between thoughts. The wind carries us now to a different scent, a citrus breeze blowing from the Mediterranean coast of Calabria. Here, in the sun-drenched groves, grows the bergamot orange, a knobby, pear-shaped citrus too sour to eat, but prized for the aromatic oil in its rind. It is this oil that gives Earl Grey tea its distinctive, bright perfume. The story tells of a gift, a diplomatic gesture from a Chinese mandarin to Charles Grey, the second Earl Grey and British Prime Minister, blending black tea with this precious Italian oil. Whether the legend is fact or folklore matters little compared to the sensory alchemy that occurs. The dark, malty depth of the black tea anchors the volatile, high notes of the bergamot. It is a marriage of earth and sun, of the heavy and the ethereal. The scent alone is known to reduce anxiety, the citrus notes cutting through the fog of fatigue like a ray of sunlight piercing a heavy curtain. Breathe in that imaginary scent now, sharp, clean, uplifting. And as the aroma fades, feel a heaviness lift from your chest, replaced by a light, airy calm. The sun sets, and we find ourselves under a twilight sky in the Fujian province, waiting for the night. Here, the production of jasmine pearl tea relies on a flower that keeps its own secret schedule. The jasmine blossoms are harvested in the early afternoon when the buds are tight and closed against the heat. They are kept cool until dusk. As the moon rises and the air temperature drops, the tiny white buds begin to pop open, releasing their intoxicating fragrance. This happens only at night. The tea masters, working in the quiet dark, layer the fresh, opening flowers over heaps of green tea leaves. For hours, in the silence of the warehouse, the dry tea leaves act as a sponge, drinking in the moisture and the perfume of the dying flowers. By morning, the flowers are spent and removed, and the process is repeated, sometimes up to 7 times, until the tea is saturated with the scent of the night. The leaves are then hand-rolled into small pearls, locking the aroma inside. It is a labour of the night, a secret exchange between flower and leaf that happens while the rest of the world sleeps, just as your body repairs and renews itself now in the safety of this rest. We travel westward to where the mountains trap the clouds in the district of Darjeeling, India. Often called the champagne of teas, Darjeeling grows on steep slopes that are perpetually bathed in a cool, wet mist. This constant interplay of sun and cloud, along with the unique soil chemistry, creates a flavour profile found nowhere else on Earth. A distinctive muscatel note, reminiscent of muscat grapes and summer hay. But the true wonder of Darjeeling is the concept of flushes. The taste of the tea changes dramatically depending on when it is plucked. The first flush, harvested in early spring after the plant's winter dormancy, is light, floral and pale gold, a gentle awakening. The second flush, picked in early summer before the monsoon rains, is fuller, amber-coloured, and rich with that signature fruity spice. The autumn flush, gathered after the rains recede, is deep, coppery and smooth. To drink Darjeeling is to drink the season itself, to taste the specific weather of a specific month on a specific mountainside. It is a grounding connection to the cycle of the year, a reminder that everything has its season, and now is your season for rest. In the hush of a tatami-matted room, we encounter the Japanese tea ceremony, chanoyu. Here, tea is not a beverage. It is a meditation on the fleeting nature of existence. The principle guiding this ritual is ichigo ichie, one time, one meeting. It means that this specific gathering, with this specific light falling through the paper screens, this specific arrangement of flowers, and this specific group of people, will never happen again in exactly the same way. Every movement of the host is choreographed and precise. The folding of the silk cloth, the wiping of the scoop, the pouring of the water, nothing is wasted, nothing is hurried. The only sounds are the rustle of the kimono and the soft boiling of the water in the iron kettle, a sound described by masters as wind in the pines. The guest sits in silence, appreciating the rustic beauty of the bowl, the curve of the ladle, the warmth of the charcoal. The world outside the tea room ceases to exist. There is only the immediate moment, vivid, sharp, and infinitely peaceful. This intense focus clears the mind of clutter, leaving a clean, empty space where serenity can bloom. Far from the damp mists of Asia, in the arid Cederberg Mountains of South Africa, grows a plant that is not technically tea at all, but a tisane. This is the red bush, or rooibos. It grows nowhere else on the planet. The plant is a legume, with needle-like leaves that turn a brilliant rusty red when fermented and dried in the blazing African sun. Unlike the Camellia sinensis, rooibos contains no caffeine and is low in tannins, making it naturally sweet and impossible to oversteep. It drinks in the harsh heat of the desert day and releases it as a deep ruby-red liquor that tastes of honey, vanilla and warm earth. Because it lacks the stimulant of caffeine, it is the tea of the evening, the tea of settling down. It is the warmth of the sun stored for the cold of the night. Imagine the red dust of the mountains, the vast starry sky of the southern hemisphere, and the silence of the desert, a dry, warm silence that wraps around you like a heavy blanket. And finally, we arrive at the feeling that all these leaves and rituals aim to produce, chazui, or tea drunk. This is not an intoxication of the body, but a liberation of the spirit. It occurs after many small cups of high-quality tea, particularly raw pu'er or high mountain oolong. It is a physical sensation of lightness, as if gravity has lost a fraction of its hold on your bones. Your hands feel warm, your vision sharpens, and a profound sense of well-being washes over the chest. Thoughts that were racing begin to slow down, spacing out, creating gaps of silence in the mind. The anxieties of the future and the regrets of the past dissolve, leaving you anchored firmly in the pleasant reality of the present. It is a state of mindful bliss, a gentle euphoria where you are fully awake yet completely at rest. You are floating, buoyant, held up by the liquid history you have consumed. And in this state of lightness, the heavy doors of sleep begin to swing open, inviting you to drift through, effortless, silent, and deep. The euphoric lightness of the spirit eventually finds its way back to the physical world, landing softly upon the delicate, translucent rim of a porcelain teacup. This is the art of Jingdezhen, the porcelain capital of the world, where for over 1,000 years, artisans have transformed the white earth of the mountains into white gold. Visualize the potter's wheel spinning in a blur of motion, the wet, cool clay rising between steady fingers like a blooming lily. This clay, known as kaolin, is fired at temperatures so high it vitrifies, turning into a substance that is part stone, part glass, and entirely light. When you hold a piece of fine eggshell porcelain against a candle, the flame glows through the ceramic walls, a warm, flickering amber shadow dancing on the other side. It is incredibly strong, yet appears fragile enough to be shattered by a loud word. This paradox, strength disguised as delicacy, is the essence of tea culture. The cup does not compete with the tea, it honours it. Its pure white surface provides a canvas for the colour of the infusion, allowing the deep reds or pale golds to shine without distraction. As you visualise that soft glow through the porcelain, feel your own thoughts becoming translucent, light passing through them without catching, leaving only a warm, quiet radiance behind. This clarity of form leads us to the clarity of the tea itself, specifically the tradition of gong fu cha, or tea with great skill. This is not a ceremony of rigid silence, but a functional art of extraction. In this practice, we use a tiny vessel, a gaiwan or a small teapot, and fill it nearly half full with dry leaves. The water is poured and poured again in quick successive infusions, lasting only seconds at a time. This method allows you to witness the life of the tea in chapters. The first infusion might be shy, offering only a hint of aroma. The third is a crescendo, a burst of flavour that fills every corner of the palate. By the 10th infusion, the tea has become a ghost, a subtle, sweet memory of its former self. It is a lesson in presence. By drinking in small, concentrated bursts, we remain tethered to the changing nature of the moment. There is no need to rush to the end of the pot. Each tiny cup is a world unto itself, and as the steam from these small infusions rises and falls, your breathing finds a new, deeper anchor, a rhythmic ebb and flow that mimics the pouring of the water, effortless and constant. While the heat of the gaiwan warms the hands, we drift to a colder, vast landscape where tea becomes a different kind of companion. In the high, frozen altitudes of the Tibetan plateau, where the wind bites through wool and the air is thin enough to gasp, tea is prepared with butter and salt. This is po cha. Imagine a long wooden churn, dark and polished by decades of use. Inside, a strong, smoky black tea, often aged and pressed into bricks, is churned together with fresh yak butter and a pinch of Himalayan salt. The result is not a light infusion, but a thick, savoury soup, dense with calories and essential fats. It is a liquid fireplace. In the biting cold, where a standard cup of tea would lose its heat in moments, the layer of butter on top acts as an insulator, sealing the warmth within. To drink it is to feel a heavy protective coat being wrapped around your internal organs. The salt replenishes the body, and the fat provides the energy to walk through the snow. It is a reminder that tea is an adaptive spirit, changing its form to meet the needs of the human soul wherever it wanders. The sound of the churn, a deep resonant thump slosh, is a heartbeat in the wilderness. A steady, comforting pulse that lulls the mind into a state of deep, snowy security. Echoing this salt-rimmed resilience is the story of the Russian caravan tea, a blend born from the frost of the long overland trek from China to Moscow. In the 18th and 19th centuries, camel caravans travelled for 18 months across the Gobi Desert and the Siberian wastes. At night, the caravan would halt, and great campfires were lit to ward off the wolves and the cold. The tea crates, often used as seats or stacked near the flames, would absorb the pungent, resinous smoke of the pinewood fires. By the time the tea reached the grand drawing rooms of St. Petersburg, it had undergone a transformation. It no longer tasted merely of leaves, but of the journey itself, smoky, dark, and adventurous. This smoky profile, now often associated with Lapsang Souchong, is the taste of the campfire under a million stars. Imagine the vast, silent horizon of the desert, the crackle of the embers, and the way the smoke curls up toward the Milky Way. The scent is ancient and grounded, like the smell of a library or an old forest. As you inhale this imagined smoke, let it settle the dust of your day, grounding you, weighing your limbs with the pleasant fatigue of a long, successful journey. The darkness of the caravan trail gives way to the golden liquid sun of the golden tips of Yunnan. In the cradle of tea's origin, certain trees are allowed to grow tall and wild, some reaching the age of 1,000 years or more. These ancient trees produce buds that are covered in a dense velvety fuzz. When processed as a black tea, these buds turn a brilliant shimmering gold. They are the gold of the tea world, containing the highest concentration of the plant's energy. When you brew these golden tips, the liquor is thick and syrupy, with a texture like liquid silk. It tastes of sun-dried apricots and wild honey, a sweetness that is not sugary but deep and resonant. It is the life force of an ancient tree distilled into a single drop. These trees have stood silent through dynasties and revolutions, their roots reaching deep into the primeval earth, their branches reaching for the stars. They are the silent witnesses of history. To drink from an ancient tree is to touch the eternal, and as this golden liquid fills your mind's eye, your pulse slows, finding the pace of the old forest, steady, unshakable, and infinitely patient. While the ancient trees stand still, the culture of tea is always in motion, travelling across the sea to the emerald hills of Taiwan, where the high mountain oolongs are birthed in the clouds. Here, the landscape is so steep and the mist so thick that the tea gardens appear to be floating in the sky. The leaves are harvested by hand, then tossed and turned in large bamboo drums to bruise the edges. But there is a secret ingredient here: the wind. The cool, moist air from the Pacific Ocean rolls over the mountains, bathing the leaves in a constant, gentle humidity. This ocean breath slows the oxidation, allowing the tea to develop a creamy, buttery texture and a scent that resembles mountain lilies. In the tea rooms of Taipei, this tea is poured into aroma cups, tall, slender vessels designed not for drinking, but for smelling. You pour the tea from the aroma cup into the drinking cup, then hold the empty, warm aroma cup to your nose. It holds the scent for minutes, a concentrated perfume of the high peaks. It is a sensory bridge between the ocean and the sky. You're breathing in the mountain air, cool, clean, and refreshing. And as you exhale, the last of your worries dissipate like mist in the morning sun. This ethereal fragrance finds its physical counterpart in the tea pet, a small clay figure that sits on the tea tray waiting to be fed. Usually made of the same yixing clay as the teapots, these figures might be in the shape of a toad, a dragon, a laughing Buddha, or a simple pebble. They are the silent companions of the tea session. As the tea is prepared, the rinse, the very first wash of the leaves, is poured over the tea pet. Over time, the clay figure drinks the tea, developing its own patina and scent, just like the teapot. Some tea pets are designed to change colour when hot water is poured over them, or to spit a jet of water from their mouths as the air inside expands. It is a playful, whimsical ritual, a reminder not to take life too seriously. The tea pet is a symbol of slow accumulation. It becomes beautiful and fragrant not through one event, but through thousands of small, caring gestures. You too are accumulating peace in this moment, layer by layer, drop by drop, until you are saturated with serenity. The playfulness of the tea pet shifts into the profound medicinal wisdom of the yellow tea, a rare and disappearing art. Yellow tea is processed similarly to green tea, but with an extra crucial step: men huang, or sealing yellow. After the leaves are heated, they are wrapped in special paper or cloth while still warm and moist. They are left to smother for several hours or days. This gentle, controlled fermentation removes the grassy bite of green tea and turns the leaves a soft, straw-like yellow. The flavour becomes mellow, silky, and extraordinarily easy on the stomach. It is the middle path of tea, neither raw nor roasted, but perfectly balanced. It was once the tea of emperors, reserved for the highest court, because its colour matched the imperial yellow. To drink it is to experience a state of total equilibrium. No extremes, No sharp edges, just a smooth, golden mean that calms the digestion and settles the nerves. Your mind is finding that middle path now, moving away from the noise of the day, moving away from the silence of the void, resting in the perfect balance of this moment. As the yellow tea settles, we find ourselves standing in the middle of a tea forest in Southeast Asia. This is not a neat garden with rows of bushes, but a wild, tangled woodland where tea trees grow alongside coffee, spices, and towering tropical giants. This is the agroforestry of tea. In this environment, the tea plant is part of a complex living web. Birds nest in its branches, insects crawl over its roots, the fallen leaves of other trees provide its fertilizer. This biodiversity protects the tea, making it stronger and more flavorful. The tea from these forests has a wild character, unpredictable, vibrant, and deep. It tastes of the whole forest, not just the plant. It is a reminder that we're all part of a larger system, supported by a hidden network of life that we rarely see, but always feel. Feel that support now. The bed beneath you, the air around you, the earth beneath the floor, a vast supportive web that holds you safely as you drift toward the edge of sleep. Finally, we contemplate the white dew, or Bai Lu, a solar term in the traditional lunar calendar that marks the beginning of autumn. In the tea gardens, the white dew tea is harvested when the nights begin to cool, and the first dewdrops appear on the leaves in the early morning. The plants, sensing the coming of winter, make one last concentrated effort to produce sugar and energy. The leaves are thicker than the spring harvest, the flavour sturdier and more honey-like. There is a sense of completion in this tea, a harvest of the year's wisdom before the plants go to sleep for the winter. The morning mist clings to the bushes, and the sun, lower in the sky, casts long, soft shadows across the rows. It is the twilight of the year. The work is done, the harvest is gathered. There is nothing left to do but wait for the frost and the quiet. You're in your own white dew now. The day's work is behind you. The harvest of your experiences is gathered, and you're standing at the threshold of a long, refreshing winter sleep. The mist is closing in, soft and white, blurring the edges of the world until there is only the warmth of the tea and the deep, inviting dark. Would you like me to continue with the next 10 facts? The mist of the autumn harvest lingers, cool and damp before dissolving into the dry, sun-baked air of a distant high desert plateau. Here, the landscape is a study in ochre and burnt sienna, a stark contrast to the verdant gardens of the south. We find ourselves following the rhythmic, muffled thud of hooves on sand, the arrival of the brick tea. In ancient times, to transport tea across the vast, unforgiving distances of the Silk Road, the leaves had to be transformed into something indestructible. They were steamed and pressed into heavy, dense blocks, often embossed with intricate patterns, seals of the manufacturing guilds, or even maps. These bricks were so sturdy they were used as a form of currency, a tangible medium of exchange that could be traded for horses, salt, or silk. Imagine a stack of these dark, earthy bricks piled high in a merchant stall, their surfaces smoothed by 1,000 hands, smelling of dry hay and wood smoke. To use them, one would chip off a piece with a small knife, as if harvesting stone from a quarry. It is the architecture of tea, solid, reliable, and patient. It teaches us that even the most delicate thing can be made resilient when it is focused and compressed. And as you feel the weight of your own body pressing into the mattress solid and supported, you realize you are as grounded as those ancient stones of commerce, immovable, secure, at rest. The solidity of the brick gives way to the ethereal fluidity of the tea cream, a mysterious phenomenon that appears only when the liquid begins to cool. As you look into your cup, you may notice the clear, bright liquor suddenly turning cloudy, as if a ghostly veil has been drawn across its surface. This is not a flaw, but a sign of immense quality. In highly concentrated infusions, the polyphenols and caffeine molecules, which are perfectly dissolved in the heat, begin to find one another as the temperature drops. They bond, creating microscopic structures that catch the light, turning the amber tea into a milky opalescent pool. It is a visible manifestation of chemistry slowing down, of energy seeking a calmer state of being. It is the tea's way of settling in for the night. In the quiet of the room, this cloudiness feels like the onset of a dream, the sharp edges of the world blurring into soft, hazy shapes that no longer require definition. You don't need to see clearly now. You only need to feel the gradual cooling of the air and the softening of the light. Your mind, too, is creaming. The sharp thoughts of the day are bonding together, losing their individual sting and becoming a singular, soft and hazy cloud of peace. While the tea cream's in the cup, a different kind of transformation is occurring in the dark, humid cellars of Guangxi, where the Liu Bao tea is allowed to sleep in massive bamboo baskets. This is an ancestor of the modern pu'er, a tea that thrives on moisture and shadow. The baskets are woven from split bamboo, allowing the tea to breathe while it undergoes a slow, microbial fermentation that can last for years. Inside the dark weave of the basket, the leaves develop a unique betel nut aroma and a deep burgundy colour. The air in these cellars is thick with the scent of wet earth and old wood, a primal, comforting fragrance that speaks of the deep roots of the world. The baskets are stacked high, row upon row, a silent congregation of aging leaves. They are not waiting for anything other than the slow, inevitable passage of time. They are learning how to be old, how to be mellow, how to be wise. There is a profound dignity in this darkness. It is a sanctuary where change happens without effort, governed only by the silent work of the air. And as this knowledge settles into your spirit, your breathing slows. You're drifting into your own sanctuary of shadow, where the only task is to exist, and to change, and to rest. The darkness of the cellar eventually breaks into the bright floral explosion of the blooming tea or flowering tea. These are small, unassuming bundles, hand-tied by artisans who sew dried flowers, like hibiscus, jasmine or lily, into a heart of silver needle green tea leaves. To the eye, they look like hard, grey pebbles. But when dropped into a tall glass of hot water, a slow-motion miracle occurs. The water breathes life back into the bundle. It begins to expand, the leaves unfurling like the petals of a waking creature. Suddenly the centre bursts open and a vibrant flower blooms in the glass, rising slowly toward the surface on a stalk of tea leaves. It is a piece of theatre played out in total silence. The bloom stays suspended in the water, a delicate sculpture of botanical grace. It is a reminder that beauty often hides in the most inconspicuous places, waiting for the right conditions to reveal itself. You're like that bundle now. The outer shell of your daily stresses is softening, melting away in the warmth of this quiet moment, allowing the hidden beauty of your inner calm to unfurl, petal by petal, leaf by leaf, until you are fully open to the night. The visual drama of the bloom leads us to the subtle acoustic world of the tea shovel and the tea scoop. In the quietest part of the tea house, the most important sound is the voice of the dry leaf. When the tea master uses a carved bamboo scoop to move the dry leaves from the jar to the pot, the leaves chime. Listen to that sound in your mind, a dry metallic rustle, like the sound of autumn leaves skittering across a stone courtyard, or the sound of dragon scales clinking together. This sound tells the master everything they need to know about the tea's dryness, its age, and its soul. It is a high-frequency music that vibrates in the air for just a second before falling into the silence of the pot. It is the last song the leaf sings before it meets the water. The bamboo of the scoop is smooth and cool, shaped by a knife to fit the hand perfectly. It is a bridge between the human and the botanical. In the stillness of your rest, you can hear that rustle, a soft, rhythmic whispering that tells you the day is done. The leaves have fallen, and the music of the waking world is fading into the deep, low hum of sleep. Transitioning from the dry rustle of the leaf, we find ourselves in the damp, mossy silence of the tea graveyard. a poetic name for the discarded leaves after the tea has been poured. In a traditional tea ceremony, the spent leaves are never treated as waste. They are placed in a beautiful bowl, their mission complete. They are now soft, swollen and vibrant, their colours much brighter than when they were dry. Looking at these leaves is like looking at the aftermath of a great storm that has left only peace in its wake. They are exhausted, in the best possible way. They have given everything they had, their colour, their scent, their medicine, to the water. They are now at total peace, resting in the cool dampness. There is no more tension in their fibres, no more secrets in their cells. They are a model of perfect surrender. As you witness this image, feel a similar surrender in your own limbs. You've given what you had to the day. You've played your part. Now, like the spent leaves in the bowl, you're allowed to simply be, to be heavy, to be still, to be finished. This sense of completion draws us toward the tea master's hands. If you were to look at the hands of someone who has spent 50 years preparing tea, you would see a map of a life well lived. The skin is often stained a very faint amber from the constant contact with the liquor. The movements are so fluid they seem to happen without the intervention of the brain. The hands move with the economy of a bird in flight. No wasted energy, no jagged edges. There is a profound muscle memory in these hands, a deep cellular knowledge of the weight of the water and the heat of the clay. They do not grasp, they cradle. They do not pour, they flow. Watching these hands is like watching a river find its way around a stone. It is the ultimate expression of Wu Wei, effortless action. As you settle deeper into your pillows, let your own hands relax. Let the fingers curl naturally. Let the doing of the day dissolve into the being of the night. Your hands have nothing left to hold. They are free to be still, and as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows. Your heart finds a calm, steady rhythm, echoing the grace of the master's touch. The grace of the hand leads us to the heart of the kettle. In the Japanese tradition, small pieces of iron, known as nari-cha, are sometimes placed at the bottom of the cast iron kettle. As the water begins to heat, these pieces of iron vibrate against the bottom, creating a series of subtle musical tones. This is the song of the kettle. It starts as a low, distant hum, like the sound of a wind blowing through a pine forest on a far-off mountain. As the heat increases, the song changes, becoming the sound of breaking waves against the shore, and finally the sound of cicadas in the summer heat. This acoustic guide tells the master exactly when the water is ready, without them ever having to look inside. It is a hidden language of heat and vibration. In the silence of your room, you can almost hear that low, distant hum, the wind in the pines. A sound that has no beginning and no end. It is the sound of the universe breathing. Let that sound wrap around you, a sonic blanket that muffles the noise of the world, leaving only the vibration of peace in your ears. From the song of the kettle, we drift to the spirit of the tea room, or the chashitsu. These spaces are designed with a deliberate poverty of spirit. The materials are simple wood, paper and straw. The entrance, known as the nijiriguchi, is often so small and low that even a powerful samurai would have to crawl through it, leaving his swords and his ego outside. Inside, the light is filtered through paper screens, creating a world of soft shadows where nothing is harsh and nothing is hidden. The floor is made of tatami mats, which smell of dried grass and earth. To enter this room is to leave the world of dust behind. It is a laboratory of emptiness. In this space, a single flower in a vase or a single scroll on the wall is enough to fill the heart. You're in your own chashitsu now. The door is closed. The world of dust is outside. The light is soft. The shadows are kind. And you are stripped of your titles and your worries. You're simply a human being, breathing in the quiet, in a space that was made just for you, to be empty and to be full. Finally, we arrive at the tea of the 5 elements. In the ancient philosophy that birthed the tea culture, a single cup of tea is a perfect microcosm of the universe. It contains earth, the clay of the pot and the minerals in the leaf, wood, the tea plant itself, fire, the heat that dries the leaf and boils the water, metal, the iron kettle or the minerals in the water, and water, the life-giving fluid that binds them all. When you drink tea, you are consuming a balanced alignment of the entire physical world. You're bringing the harmony of the elements into your own body. The fire warms your blood, the water softens your tissues, the earth grounds your bones, the wood gives you flexibility, the metal provides you with clarity. You're a small walking universe, and right now all your elements are in perfect alignment. There is no conflict. There is no imbalance. You're a steady, harmonious whole vibrating at the frequency of the stars, and in this perfect balance the final door begins to open. The door to a sleep that is as deep as the earth and as vast as the sky. You are falling, not down, but into the heart of the elements, where the tea is always warm and the night is always long. The 5 elements come together in a singular luminous point within the cup, but to the professional tea taster, this liquid light is a language all its own. In the quiet, clinical sanctuary of a tasting room, white, sterile, and bathed in the steady, neutral glow of northern sunlight, the tea is judged by a vocabulary that sounds more like poetry than science. They speak of the liquor, not as an intoxicant, but as the soul of the infusion. They look for brightness, a visual quality where the tea seems to possess an internal radiance, reflecting light like a polished gemstone. A tea that is brisk has a live, sparkling quality on the tongue, a gentle astringency that wakes the palate without being harsh. If a tea has point, it possesses a sharp, delightful edge that cuts through the stillness. As you visualize these bright, sparkling infusions, feel that same brightness in your own mind, a clear, calm awareness that requires no effort. Your thoughts are becoming bright, clear, and brisk, moving with a gentle, fluid grace that eventually settles into a deep, still pool. And as this professional clarity washes over you, your breathing slows. The language of the day is falling away, leaving only the silent, glowing liquor of your own inner peace. While the taster judges the spirit, the clock governs the alchemy. There is a sacred window of time known as the Great 3 Minutes. When the leaf first meets the heat, it undergoes a rapid, tiered release of its secrets. In the first 30 to 60 seconds, the caffeine is surrendered, the molecules of alertness rushing out into the water like tiny, invisible sparks. If you were to drink the tea now, it would be thin and sharp. But as the clock ticks toward the 3-minute mark, the heavier molecules, the tannins and polyphenols, begin to uncoil and emerge. These are the body of the tea. They provide the depth, the warmth, and the structural integrity of the flavour. They also act as a chemical counterbalance to the caffeine, slowing its absorption and creating that steady, grounded energy. If you wait too long, past 5 or 6 minutes, the tea begins to reveal its bitter wisdom, an over-extraction of tannins that makes the mouth dry. It is a lesson in the perfection of the middle moment. Everything has its peak. Everything has its time of ideal surrender. You're in your own great 3 minutes right now. The initial rush of the day has passed, and you're settling into the deep, restorative body of the night. There is no bitterness here, only the full, warm weight of relaxation. The passage of time on the clock mirrors the geological time of the Wuyi Mountains, where the legend of monkey-picked tea drifts through the jagged, mist-choked peaks like a ghost. Imagine cliffs so steep and treacherous that no human foot could find purchase. Legend says that ancient monks trained monkeys to climb these sheer stone faces to pluck the rarest leaves from the wild, ancient bushes clinging to the crevices. While the monkeys are a charming myth, the Dahong Pao, or big red robe tea that grows there, is very real. The roots of these bushes dig into the rock bone of the mountains, absorbing a harsh mineral intensity that tea lovers call yan yun, or rock rime. The light in these canyons is forever fractured by stone and fog, creating a landscape of deep greys and vibrant mossy greens. The leaves are dark, twisted, and smell of roasted stone and cold rain. This is a tea of the Earth's core. It tastes of the very foundation of the world. As you visualize these steep, silent cliffs, feel yourself becoming as steady as the mountain. The mist may swirl around you, and the winds may blow, but your center is made of ancient, unshakable stone. You are grounded, you are heavy, you are part of the rock. If we were to zoom in closer than the eye can see, we would find that the mountain's resilience is written into the microanatomy of the tea leaf itself. Under a microscope, the surface of a Camellia sinensis leaf is a marvel of biological engineering. It is covered in thousands of stomata, tiny, mouth-like pores that open and close to breathe. In the heat of the day, they close to conserve moisture. In the cool of the night, they open to inhale the damp mountain air. The veins of the leaf are like a complex river delta, a delicate lace of carbon and cellulose that transports the minerals of the earth to the tip of every serrated edge. These veins are the skeleton of the leaf, providing the structure that allows it to hold its shape even after it has been dried and fired. There is a profound intelligence in this tiny green world, a constant rhythm of breathing and being. Echoing this biological rhythm, your own stomata are now opening. Your pores are relaxing and your breath is flowing in and out with the same unhurried ease as the mountain shrub. You're breathing with the tea. You're part of the same silent green pulse. This biological treasure was once so highly valued that it was kept under lock and key in the sacred tea caddy. In the grand estates of 18th century Europe, tea was a luxury that cost more than a servant's annual wage. The tea caddy was not a simple jar, but a work of fine cabinetry, crafted from mahogany, rosewood, or shimmering silver, and fitted with a sturdy brass lock. The lady of the house would keep the key on her person, for the leaves inside were literally green gold. Imagine the soft clink of the key in the lock, the heavy lid swinging open to reveal the velvet-lined compartments where the precious leaves were stored. The scent that would rise from the box was a concentrated perfume of distant lands, spices, flowers, and the mysterious earth of the East. The caddy was a symbol of protection and value. It reminds us that peace is a commodity worth guarding. You are locking the door to the outside world now. You're turning the key. Inside the caddy of your room, you're safe, protected, and surrounded by the quiet luxury of this rest. Your value is not in what you do, but in the simple, precious fact of your existence. The texture of the wooden caddy leads us to the shimmering silver of the Moroccan Atay service. In the bustling markets of Marrakesh and the quiet tents of the Sahara, tea is a vertical art form. The tea is prepared in a tall, shapely silver pot, blended with massive amounts of fresh, spearmint leaves and blocks of sugar. But the magic is in the pour. The host holds the teapot high, sometimes 3 or 4 feet above the small, colourful glasses, and pours a thin, unwavering stream of steaming liquid. This high pour is not for show. It is a way of aerating the tea, cooling it slightly, and creating a thick crown of foam on the surface of the glass. The sound of the water leaping into the glass is a sharp, musical splash that cuts through the heat of the afternoon. This foam is the soul of the tea. If there is no foam, the tea is considered dead. The first glass is gentle as life, the second is strong as love, and the third is bitter as death. As you hear that high, splashing pour in your mind, feel the tension being whipped out of your body, replaced by a light, airy foam of contentment. The heat is leaving, the coolness is arriving, and as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows. Your spirit is as buoyant as the mint-scented foam. While the Moroccan tea rises in a crown of foam, the tea of history once sank into the cold, dark brine of the Atlantic. We drift to the year 1773 to the harbour of Boston. Here, the tea was not a beverage, but a symbol of rebellion. In a singular, silent act of defiance, hundreds of crates of Bohea and Singlo tea were split open and hurled into the salt water. Imagine the sound of the wood splintering, the heavy thud of the crates hitting the black water, and the sight of the leaves spreading out like a dark, expanding ink blot under the moonlight. The salt of the sea met the tannins of the leaf in a massive cold infusion that no one would ever drink. It was a moment where the world of dust and the world of politics collided. But after the shouting stopped and the ships were emptied, a profound silence settled over the harbour. The tea was gone, returned to the elements, its energy merging with the tide. This historical saltiness reminds us that sometimes we must let go of our crates, the heavy burdens of our identity and our struggles, and let them sink into the vast, cold ocean of the past. They are no longer your concern. The tide has taken them. The harbour is quiet. You are light. You are free. This political weight gives way to the rigid, elegant architecture of the British social classes, specifically the distinction between high tea and afternoon tea. These terms are often confused, but they speak of two very different worlds. Afternoon tea, the ritual of the upper class, was served on low tables, soft sofas and armchairs around 4 o'clock. It was a light bridge between luncheon and a late dinner, consisting of delicate crustless sandwiches and dainty pastries. It was a time of leisure, of lace, and of quiet conversation. High tea, however, was the working man's meal. It was served at a high table, the dining table, after a long day of physical labour. It was a substantial meal of meats, pies, and thick slices of bread, always accompanied by a large, strong pot of black tea. One was a luxury of time, the other was a necessity of recovery. In your mind, visualize the transition from the high, sturdy dining table to the low, soft armchair. You're moving from the high tea of your day's work to the afternoon tea of your night's rest. You're sinking into the low table of the soul. The heavy tools are put away. The lace of dreams is being laid out. You're moving from the world of must to the world of may. The architecture of the table leads us to the texture of a small accidental revolution, the invention of the tea bag. In 1908, a New York tea merchant named Thomas Sullivan sent out samples of his leaves in small, hand-sewn silk pouches. He intended for his customers to cut the silk and pour the leaves into their pots. But the customers, confused and delighted by the novelty, dropped the entire silk bag into the hot water. The silk was fine enough to let the flavour through, but strong enough to contain the mess. It was a serendipitous mistake that changed the world. Think of the texture of that original silk. Soft, shimmering, and porous. It is a perfect metaphor for the boundary between your conscious and subconscious mind. You are the tea inside the bag, and the darkness of sleep is the warm water. The silk of your remaining awareness is thin and permeable. It allows the peace of the night to flow in, and the essence of your being to flow out, but it keeps the leaves of your individual thoughts contained and quiet. You don't need to break the bag. You only need to soak. You only need to be. Finally, we return to the factory floor, to the very beginning of the leaf's journey after the pluck, the wither. After the leaves are gathered, they are spread out on long perforated troughs. For hours, cool air is blown over them. This is not a process of drying, but of softening. The leaf loses its turgidity. It becomes limp and pliable, like a piece of fine suede. Chemically, this is when the enzymes begin to wake up, and the scent of the leaf changes from freshly cut grass to bruised fruit and wildflower honey. The leaf is sleeping before it is fired. It is surrendering its water so that it may eventually take on a new form. This is the most critical stage. If the wither is too fast, the tea is harsh. If it is too slow, it becomes dull. It must be a gentle, patient softening. You're on the wither trough of your bed right now. The air of this narrative is blowing over you, gently removing the stiffness of your day. You're becoming pliable. You're becoming soft. You're changing from the green of action to the amber of rest. The fire of tomorrow is a long way off. For now there is only the wither, the softening, the sweet, heavy scent of a life at rest. The soft, pliable nature of the withered leaf, surrendering its structure to the air, invites us to look closer at the invisible gifts it carries, the silent guardians of the human vessel. Long before we understood the language of vitamins, the mariners of the 18th century looked to the tea leaf as a saviour against the creeping shadow of scurvy. On long, salt-crusted voyages where the horizon remained an unbroken line for months, the fresh tea leaf was a concentrated reservoir of vitamin C. While other foods rotted in the damp hold, the dried tea leaf held on to its vitality, waiting for the kiss of hot water to release its life-saving essence. Imagine a sailor on the deck of a great clipper ship, the wood groaning beneath him, the spray of the Atlantic cold against his skin. As he sips a bowl of strong green tea, he is unaware of the molecular repair taking place, the way the ascorbic acid mends the very fibres of his being. It is a quiet internal restoration. The tea provides a bridge of health back to the solid earth, even when the land is 1,000 miles away. And as this restoration continues within you, your own cells find their rhythm. The repairs of the day are being handled by the quiet wisdom of your body, and your breathing slows, steady and deep, like the swell of a calm midnight ocean. The relief found on the deck of a ship finds a social echo in the sprawling lamplit beauty of the English tea garden. In the 1700s, tea moved out of the private drawing room and into the public pleasure gardens of London, like Vauxhall and Ranelagh. These were magical, nocturnal landscapes where the boundaries of class blurred under the cover of twilight. Visualize a garden illuminated by thousands of coloured glass lanterns, their light flickering like grounded stars against the deep velvet of the night. Winding paths led through groves of ancient oaks and elms, leading to ornate wooden pavilions where tea was served to the sound of hidden string quartets. The steam from the silver teapots would mingle with the evening mist, creating a soft, hazy atmosphere where every face seemed beautiful and every word seemed kind. It was a place of sensory delight. The rustle of silk dresses, the clink of porcelain, the smell of damp grass and jasmine. In these gardens, the act of drinking tea became a shared dream, a collective pause in the machinery of the city. You're walking through that garden now. The lanterns are dimming, the music is fading into the distance, and the cool night air is inviting you to find your own quiet pavilion of rest. The gentle light of the English garden shifts into the roaring communal warmth of the Russian samovar, the self-boiler that serves as the metallic heart of the Russian home. Imagine a vast, polished vessel made of brass or copper, standing tall on a heavy tray. Inside its central chimney, glowing charcoal embers hiss and crackle, heating the surrounding water until it sings a low, persistent song of steam. Perched atop the samovar sits a small, concentrated pot of tea known as the zavaka. The host pours a small amount of the black liquid into the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small whirlpool. The water turns a deep, rich brown, and the host adds a small amount of the black liquid to the water, creating a small. The host pours a small amount of the black concentrate into a glass held in a silver filigree holder, the podstakanik, and then dilutes it with a jet of boiling water from the samovar's tap. The room is filled with the scent of wood smoke and honey. The samovar is more than a kettle. It is a companion, a source of constant, unwavering warmth in a world of ice. Listen to the steady, rhythmic bubbling, a heartbeat in the frost, a sound that tells you that you are home, you are safe, and the cold cannot reach you here. From the industrial rhythm of the samovar, we drift into the microscopic silence of the leaf's own internal defense, the catechins. These are the molecular shields of the tea plant, particularly abundant in the minimally processed green and white teas. The most famous of these, EGCG, is a master of biological harmony. In the plant, these bitter compounds ward off insects and disease. In the human body, they act as profound antioxidants, scavenging the rust of the day's stress. As you rest, these catechins are at work, moving through your system like tiny silent lanterns, illuminating and neutralizing the jagged edges of metabolic fatigue. They promote a state of cellular calm, a biological sigh that allows your internal systems to downshift from the high alert of the day to the repair mode of the night. It is a process of deep, invisible cleaning. You don't have to do anything. The tea has already provided the tools. Your only job is to let the water of sleep carry these guardians to where they are needed most. And as the internal cleaning concludes, your muscles lose their last grip on the world, your jaw softens, and your spirit feels as light as a single molecule floating in a sunbeam. Echoing this state of internal purity is the disciplined, detached ritual of the tea taster's spittoon. In the great auction houses of London and Colombo, a professional taster may sample hundreds of teas in a single morning. To do this without becoming overwhelmed by caffeine or tannin, they have developed a ritual of profound detachment. They draw the tea into their mouth with a loud aerating slurp to spray the liquid across every taste bud, and then, after a moment of intense crystalline focus, they release it. The spittoon is a symbol of non-attachment. The taster experiences the essence of the tea, its brightness, its body, its point, without ever allowing it to become a permanent part of their physical state. They take the knowledge and let go of the substance. This is the zen of the professional world. You can apply this now to your own thoughts. Like a tea taster, you can acknowledge the thoughts of the day as they pass through your mind, the worries, the plans, the memories, and then, with a gentle breath, you can release them. You don't need to swallow them. You don't need to keep them. You can observe their flavour and then let them go into the vessel of the night. Your mind is becoming a clean, empty palette, ready for the dreamless silence of deep sleep. The professional detachment of the taster leads us back to a humble, earthy comfort, the people's tea, or genmaicha. This Japanese blend was born from necessity, a way for those who could not afford pure tea to stretch their supply. They added roasted brown rice and popped rice to the green tea leaves, creating a mixture that smells exactly like a warm, toasted hearth. Some of the rice grains pop during the roasting process, looking like tiny white flowers against the dark green leaves, giving it the nickname popcorn tea. The scent of genmaicha is perhaps the most grounding aroma in the world of tea. It smells of the kitchen, of the harvest, of the simple sustenance of the earth. The nuttiness of the rice softens the astringency of the green tea, creating a brew that is savoury, warm and deeply filling. It is a comfort food in liquid form. Imagine a small rustic ceramic bowl filled with this golden brown liquid, the steam carrying the scent of toasted grain to your nose. It is a humble, honest warmth. It reminds us that the most profound peace is often found in the simplest things. You're settling into that simplicity now. The complex puzzles of the day are being replaced by the basic, honest rhythm of your breath, toasted, warm, and slow. While the rice of the genmaicha grows in the paddies, the high-quality leaves it is blended with are the result of the two leaves in a bud philosophy. This is the gold standard of hand-plucking. Imagine the nimble fingers of a tea harvester, moving with the speed and precision of a weaver. They do not grab the whole branch, they seek only the very tip, the flush. This consists of the unopened terminal bud and the two youngest, most tender leaves immediately below it. This specific part of the plant contains the highest concentration of the delicate oils and the L-theanine that we seek for relaxation. The bud is the soul, the first leaf is the strength, and the second leaf is the body. By plucking only this trinity, the harvester ensures that the tea will be sweet, complex, and free of the woody bitterness of older leaves. It is a process of extreme selection. You're performing your own flush right now, selecting only the most peaceful two leaves and a bud of your day to keep, and leaving the rest on the branch. The heavy, woody stems are gone. Only the tender, sweet essence remains. And as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows. You're as light and as focused as a spring bud waiting for the dew. The precision of the plucking leads us to the spiritual arrival of tea in Japan, carried in the robes of the monk Eisai in the 12th century. Eisai did not bring tea merely as a drink, but as a medicine for the soul. In his famous text, the Kissa Yojoki, record of eating tea for health, he wrote, "Tea is the ultimate mental and medical remedy, and has the ability to make one's life more full and complete." He believed that the heart was the sovereign of the 5 organs, and tea was the specific food for the heart. Eisai planted the first seeds in the stony soil of a temple garden, and from those seeds grew the entire tradition of Zen tea. He taught that the act of drinking tea could clear the clouds of the mind, allowing the light of Buddha nature to shine through. Imagine the monk sitting in the morning mist, the sound of a bamboo water clapper, the shishiodoshi, marking the passage of time. The tea was the tool that allowed him to remain awake during long hours of meditation, yet completely calm. This is the tea mind, a state of alert tranquility. You're entering the tea mind now. You're awake enough to feel the peace, but calm enough to let it pull you under. Your heart is being fed by the silence of this moment. It is beating slow, steady, and full, a sovereign at rest in a peaceful kingdom. The spiritual philosophy of Eisai is encoded into the very geometry of the Gaiwan, the 3-piece lidded bowl of china. To the casual observer, it is a simple vessel. To the initiate, it is a model of the universe. The saucer at the bottom represents the earth, the solid, supporting foundation of all things. The bowl itself represents man, the conscious observer, the bridge between the physical and the spiritual. And the lid at the top represents heaven, the vast, encompassing spirit that covers and protects the world. When you use a gaiwan, you're literally holding the relationship between heaven, earth, and man in your hands. To pour the tea, you must slightly tilt the lid, heaven, allowing the tea, man, to flow out while the leaves, earth, remain behind. It is a delicate balance. If heaven is too closed, the tea won't flow. If it is too open, the leaves escape. It requires a gentle, mindful touch. Visualize that threefold harmony now. Your body is the earth, heavy and grounded against the bed. Your spirit is the heaven, vast and open to the stars. And your consciousness is the man, the liquid tea that is currently flowing from the vessel of the day into the reservoir of the night. Everything is in its proper place. The geometry is perfect. The balance is complete. And finally, we contemplate the gentle extraction of the decaffeination process, specifically the CO2 method. Many believe that removing caffeine requires harsh chemicals, but the most sophisticated method uses nothing but the very air we breathe. In a pressurized chamber, carbon dioxide is turned into a supercritical fluid, a state that is part gas and part liquid. In this state, the CO2 acts like a selective magnet. It drifts through the tea leaves, reaching into the cells and gently pulling out the caffeine molecules, while leaving the flavour-giving oils and antioxidants completely untouched. It is a process of taking the spark but leaving the fire. Once the CO2 is removed, the leaves are exactly as they were, but their engine has been removed. They are now leaves of pure rest. This is a beautiful metaphor for the transition you're making. The CO2 of this quiet narrative is moving through your mind, gently extracting the caffeine of your worries, your alerts, and your racing thoughts. The flavour of your life, your loves, your identity, your peace, is all still there, untouched. Only the spark of agitation is being removed. You're becoming decaffeinated. You're becoming a leaf of pure, unadulterated rest. The engine has stopped. The vessel is still. The water is calm. You are ready, effortless, and silent. The stillness of the decaffeinated leaf, resting in its state of quiet equilibrium, invites us to look upon the vessels that have witnessed the passage of centuries. Imagine a tea bowl that has fallen. It lies in several pieces on a dark wooden floor, its porcelain body shattered. But in the ancient Japanese tradition of kintsugi, or golden joinery, this breakage is not a tragedy. It is the beginning of a more profound beauty. The artisan does not hide the cracks. Instead, they are filled with a precious lacquer mixed with powdered gold. Observe the way the lantern light catches those veins of gold, tracing the history of the break like a map of liquid sun. The bowl is stronger now than it was when it was whole. It tells a story of resilience, of the beauty found in imperfection, and of the value of history. As you visualize these golden seams, understand that your own experiences, even the fractures and the fatigue, are being woven into a stronger, more beautiful whole while you rest. You're being repaired by the gold of sleep, and as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows. Your body feels as precious and as cared for as that ancient gilded bowl, safe and held together by a golden light. The golden seams of history lead us away from the heat of the kiln and toward the patient chill of the cold brew. In this process, time replaces temperature. Imagine a large glass vessel filled with crystal clear spring water and a handful of large, dark oolong leaves. There is no steam here, no boiling kettle. The vessel is placed in the quiet dark of a refrigerator or a cool cellar for 12, sometimes 24 hours. In this slow, cold immersion, the leaves do not scream their flavours, they whisper them. Because heat is absent, the bitter tannins and the jolting caffeine stay locked inside the leaf's cells. Only the sweetest, most delicate molecules are coaxed out by the cold. The result is a liquor that is as smooth as silk, with a clarity that looks like melted diamonds. It is a lesson in the power of patience. Sometimes the best results come not from force or heat, but from simply being in the stillness for a long time. You are cold brewing your own spirit right now, letting the time pass without effort, allowing the best parts of yourself to surface in the quiet, cool, clear, and perfectly refined. While the cold extracts the essence of the green leaf, The high-altitude sun of Mount Kenya is creating something vibrant and rare, purple tea. This is a natural mutation of the Camellia sinensis, discovered growing wild in the mountains. Because it grows so close to the equator at such extreme elevations, the plant produces high levels of anthocyanins, the same powerful antioxidants found in blueberries and grapes, to protect itself from the intense ultraviolet rays. Picture the tea gardens on the slopes of the mountain, where the leaves are not green but a deep royal violet. When brewed, the liquid has a subtle, earthy sweetness and a faint amethyst tint. But the real magic happens when you add a single drop of lemon juice. The acidity reacts with the anthocyanins, and the tea instantly transforms from a dusky purple to a brilliant glowing pink. It is a visual symphony of chemistry, a reminder that nature is full of hidden colours and sudden transformations. The mountain air is thin and crisp here. The purple leaves are shimmering in the equatorial light, and as you exhale, you feel that same sense of rare, vibrant protection surrounding your own resting form. The strength of the purple leaf, built to withstand the sun, mirrors the strength that tea provides to the very architecture of your body, your bones. Within the tea leaf lies a significant concentration of fluoride drawn from the deep minerals of the soil. When consumed regularly, this mineral integrates into the crystalline structure of your skeletal system, strengthening the density of your bones and the enamel of your teeth. Visualize your skeleton as a magnificent white cathedral, a structure of incredible strength and grace that supports everything you are. As you sip the tea, these minerals are travelling to the pillars of your frame, fortifying them and ensuring their longevity. It is a quiet, internal stonework. Tea is not just a comfort for the mind, it is a building block for the physical foundation. Feel the whiteness and the solidity of your bones now. They are heavy, they are strong, and they are resting deeply into the mattress, supported by the earth and the minerals they have absorbed. You are a solid structure, a temple of quiet strength, and your foundation is secure. This internal strength was once the object of the greatest industrial espionage in human history, the Great Tea Robbery. In the mid-19th century, the British Empire was desperate to break China's monopoly on tea. They sent a Scottish botanist named Robert Fortune into the interior of China, a place then forbidden to foreigners. Imagine Fortune, disguised in the silk robes of a Chinese mandarin, his hair braided into a traditional queue, travelling by riverboat and mountain sedan chair through the secret tea-growing regions of Fujian and Anhui. He was a spy in a world of leaves. He painstakingly collected thousands of seeds and saplings, along with the secret techniques of the tea masters, and smuggled them out in special Wardian cases to the mountains of India. This act of theft changed the world forever, leading to the birth of the great tea estates of Darjeeling and Assam. The air of this history is thick with mystery and the scent of old silk. As you drift, you're like Fortune in his disguise, moving through the secret corridors of your own mind, gathering the seeds of today's lessons to plant in the gardens of tomorrow. But there is no danger here, only the quiet success of the journey and the steady rhythm of the oars on the river. The seeds stolen by history eventually grow old, leading us to the venerable tradition of aged white tea. While most white teas are prized for their freshness, a specific tradition in Fujian holds that white tea becomes a treasure with age. There is a saying, 1 year tea, 3 years medicine, 7 years treasure. Visualize a silver needle tea that has been tucked away in a cool, dark place for a decade. The bright silvery white hairs have darkened to a rich charcoal grey or a deep bronze. The scent has transformed from fresh hay to dried dates, medicine, and old wood. The tea has mellowed, its cooling properties becoming more profound and its flavour more resonant. It is a tea that has learned how to wait. It has sat in the dark through the seasons and the years, slowly concentrating its spirit. It reminds us that there is a specific kind of power that only comes from aging, a depth that cannot be rushed. You're entering your treasure phase now, The freshness of the day is maturing into the wisdom of the night, and the darkness around you is not empty. It is a cellar where your peace is being aged into something priceless. Echoing this aged maturity is the velvety, mysterious milk oolong, or jin xuan. This tea, grown in the mist-shrouded mountains of Taiwan, is famous for a flavour that defies logic. It tastes and smells like fresh cream and sweet butter, yet it contains no dairy whatsoever. This milky quality is a natural gift of the cultivar and the specific high-altitude conditions. Imagine the tea bushes at 4,000 feet, where the temperature swings wildly between day and night, causing the plant to produce specific esters that mimic the scent of milk. When you brew these tightly rolled emerald spheres, the aroma that rises is comforting and thick, like a warm kitchen on a winter morning. The texture of the tea on the tongue is oily and smooth, coating the throat in a protective, buttery film. It is the ultimate lullaby tea. As you visualize that milky steam rising from the cup, feel a similar creaminess spreading through your muscles. The jagged edges of your thoughts are being smoothed over by a velvety, buttery calm. Your spirit is becoming soft, rich, and infinitely smooth. And as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows. You're floating in a sea of warm, milky light, safe and nourished. The purity of the milk oolong stands in stark contrast to the dark, forgotten history of tea forgery in Victorian London. In the 1800s, tea was so expensive that a black market emerged, where used leaves were re-dried and painted to look fresh. Forgers would use toxic substances like Prussian blue, copper carbonate, and even sheep dung to give old, spent leaves a vibrant green or black appearance. This dark history is a reminder of the value of the true leaf. It led to the creation of the first food safety laws and the rise of trusted brands that guaranteed purity. Imagine a dark, foggy London street, the gaslights flickering against the brick walls where these illicit trades took place in the shadows. But then visualize the light of truth breaking through, the laboratory tests, the clear glass of a pure infusion, and the integrity of the honest tea master. You're moving away from the shadows of the day's pretenses and into the absolute purity of your true self. There is no forgery here, no need to paint your feelings or disguise your fatigue. You're allowed to be exactly as you are, pure, spent, and ready for the clean water of sleep. The fog is lifting, the truth is clear, and the world is honest. The search for truth brings us to the golden ratio of tea, the mathematical harmony between the weight of the leaf and the volume of the water. For most teas, the ideal ratio is approximately 1 gram of tea to 50 milliliters of water. This is not just a rule, it is a physical law of extraction. If the ratio is off, the conversation between the leaf and the water becomes a shout or a whisper. Imagine a pair of delicate brass scales, the kind used by ancient apothecaries. On one side, a small pile of dark, twisted leaves. On the other, a small polished weight. The goal is balance. When the ratio is perfect, the water has just enough room to absorb the flavour without becoming saturated, and the leaf has just enough surface area to release its soul without becoming bitter. This is the geometry of satisfaction. You're finding your own golden ratio right now, the perfect balance between the weight of your body and the volume of your rest. You're not too heavy, and you're not too light. You're in perfect proportion with the night. The scales have levelled, the math is done, and the harmony is complete. Finally, we leave the gravity of the Earth behind and follow the tea leaf into the stars. On the International Space Station, astronauts still crave the comfort of a warm brew, but in microgravity, tea behaves like a living creature. It does not stay in the cup. It forms into perfect shimmering spheres of amber liquid that float freely through the air like tiny planets. Imagine an astronaut looking out the cupola at the blue curve of the Earth, while a bubble of hot Darjeeling drifts toward them. To drink it, they must catch the bubble with a straw or carefully merge it with their own breath. In this weightless environment, the aroma doesn't rise, it expands in all directions at once. It is a cosmic tea party, a reminder that the comfort of the leaf follows us even into the infinite void. You're weightless now. The gravity of your responsibilities has been turned off, and you are floating in the quiet, dark cabin of the night. Like a sphere of tea in space, you are perfectly round, perfectly self-contained, and perfectly at peace. The stars are all around you. The earth is a distant, beautiful memory, and you are drifting, effortless, into the great silent dark. The weightlessness of those floating amber spheres in the silent void of space leads our consciousness back down to earth, settling as softly as a single petal onto the surface of a mountain pool. Here, in the quiet valleys of China, we encounter the phenomenon of the breath of the dragon. This is not a flame, but a fragrance, the volatile, ethereal oils that rise from a cup of high mountain tea the moment the water touches the leaf. In the high-altitude gardens of the Wuyi Mountains, the air is so pure and the temperature so low that the aroma of the tea doesn't simply dissipate. It clings to the cup like a visible mist. Imagine the steam rising in slow, hypnotic spirals, carrying with it the scent of wet stones, orchid blossoms, and the sharp, clean air of the peaks. This aroma is the tea's first gift, a vaporous bridge between the physical leaf and the dreaming mind. To inhale it is to take the mountain into your lungs. As you visualize this rising steam, feel your own breath becoming rhythmic and light. A gentle, invisible tide that mirrors the rising vapor, cool, calm and effortless. While the breath of the dragon lingers in the air, the physical body of the tea offers a different kind of sensory anchor. The tactile wonder of the silver needle, or Baihao Yinzhen. This is the aristocrat of white teas, consisting entirely of the unopened, tender buds of the tea plant. If you were to look at these buds under a soft golden light, you would see that they are not smooth, but covered in a dense microscopic forest of fine, white, downy hairs. This is the Baihao, or white fur, a natural armour designed to protect the young bud from the biting mountain frost and the hunger of insects. To the touch, these needles feel like the finest velvet or the soft underside of a swan's wing. When they float in the water, they stand vertically, like tiny shimmering spears of light. The texture of this thought is soft, silver, and silent. As you contemplate the softness of these needles, feel a similar softness spreading across your own skin. The fabrics of your bed feeling like that protective downy fur, wrapping you in a cocoon of tactile peace, where every edge is blurred and every surface is kind, and as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows, your eyelids growing heavy with the weight of silver and light. The ethereal softness of the silver needle eventually gives way to a deeper, more resonant weight, the legend of the iron goddess of mercy, or Tikuan Yin. This is a tea that carries the gravity of a miracle. The story tells of a poor, devout farmer who, despite his poverty, spent every day cleaning a derelict temple dedicated to the Bodhisattva Guan Yin. One night, the goddess appeared in his dreams, telling him of a treasure hidden behind the temple. There he found a single struggling tea bush. He nurtured it, and the tea it produced was unlike any other, heavy as iron, yet possessing a fragrance that could fill a valley. When you handle the dried leaves of Tikuan Yin, they do not rustle like paper. They clink against the porcelain with a metallic ring, a sound like small coins or pebbles falling into a deep well. This iron density is a symbol of the tea's concentrated spirit. It is a grounding force, an anchor for the soul in a world of constant motion. Visualize those dark, tightly rolled emerald spheres falling into your cup, each one a tiny, heavy treasure. Feel that same iron stability in your own bones, a solid, unshakable sense of being that allows the rest of your mind to float away into the mists of the goddess's garden. Echoing the divine origin of the goddess is the champagne of teas, the legendary harvests of Darjeeling. But to truly understand Darjeeling, one must understand the terroir of the fog. In the foothills of the Himalayas, there is a specific weather pattern known as the dupi, the thick white mist that rolls up from the valleys every afternoon. This fog is the lifeblood of the tea. It acts as a natural sunshade, filtering the intense ultraviolet rays of the high altitude and keeping the leaves perpetually moist and cool. The plants drink this mist through their pores, absorbing the minerals of the clouds themselves. The resulting tea has a flavour that is described as muscatel, a complex, fruity and floral profile that tastes like summer hay and mountain rain. Imagine yourself standing on a steep, terraced slope, the white fog moving around you like a slow, silent river. You cannot see the horizon, only the vibrant green of the bushes at your feet and the soft white void above. It is a world without boundaries. You're enveloped in the dupi, protected, hidden, and perfectly cool. And as the fog fills your mind, your breathing finds a new, deeper anchor, matching the slow, rhythmic pulse of the mountain air. While the high mountain fog of Darjeeling is a gift of nature, the deep emerald stillness of the Japanese Gyokuro is a masterpiece of human patience. Gyokuro, or jade dew, is a tea that is deliberately hidden from the sun. For 3 weeks before the harvest, the entire tea field is covered with massive bamboo mats or dark nets, cutting off up to 90% of the sunlight. In this artificial twilight, the tea plant undergoes a profound chemical shift. It stops producing bitter tannins and begins to flood its leaves with L-theanine, the amino acid of deep tranquility. The leaves turn a colour so dark and intense it is almost blue, the colour of a deep forest at midnight. When you drink gyokuro, you're drinking shade. The liquor is thick, savoury and rich with umami, providing a surge of mental clarity that is entirely devoid of agitation. It is the theanine surge, a wave of calmness that washes over the brain, smoothing out the electrical noise of the day. Visualize that deep jade-coloured liquid, as dark and cool as the water at the bottom of a forest pool. Feel that jade dew settling behind your eyes, cooling the heat of your thoughts, and bringing a profound emerald stillness to the centre of your mind. The shaded quiet of the Japanese garden leads us across the oceans to the silk-lined chambers of the 17th century British court, where tea found its first royal patron, Catherine of Braganza. When this Portuguese princess arrived in England to marry King Charles II, her dowry included a chest of fine Chinese tea, a substance then unknown to the English court. At the time, the English drank ale for breakfast, but Catherine, accustomed to the refined rituals of Lisbon, demanded her morning tea. She turned a bitter, foreign herb into the ultimate symbol of royal grace and feminine power. Imagine the scene: the rustle of heavy silk gowns, the flickering of wax candles in silver candelabras, and the delicate clink of a porcelain cup against a saucer. Catherine brought the tea ritual as an act of civilization, a way of creating a small, ordered space of beauty in a world of political intrigue. As you visualize the lace and the silver of the Queen's chambers, feel your own environment becoming a place of refined ritual. Your bed is your palace, the night is your kingdom. And the simple act of rest is your most royal decree. You're safe in the Queen's peace, where every sound is muffled and every light is soft. This courtly grace eventually gives way to the intense physical labour of the Dragon Well, or Longjing tea, from the shores of the West Lake in Hangzhou. To produce the perfect Longjing, the tea master must perform a feat of physical endurance and delicate touch. The leaves are not dried in a machine, they are hand-fired in a large heated iron wok. Visualize the master's hand, the palm calloused but the fingers incredibly sensitive. They press the fresh leaves against the hot iron, using 10 different hand movements to flatten them into the shape of a bird's tongue or a sword blade. The heat must be precisely controlled by the sensation in the master's own skin. This hand pressing locks in the fresh, nutty flavour and gives the leaves their characteristic emerald gold hue. The master's hand and the leaf become one, a dance of fire and flora. This is the heat of the palm, a transfer of human energy into the botanical world. Feel a similar warmth in your own palms now, a soft, steady heat that radiates from your hands and into your body, relaxing the muscles and grounding you in the physical reality of your own strength and stillness. While the heat of the wok fires the longjing, the cool, damp darkness of the subterranean cellar is where the microbial wisdom of the Pu'er tea resides. Deep in the mountains of Yunnan, some teas are not meant to be fresh. They are meant to ferment. This is a living tea, an ecosystem in a cake. Over years and decades, natural fungi and bacteria, the good spirits of the tea, slowly transform the chemistry of the leaf. The bright, astringent greens turn into deep, earthy blacks and browns. The scent changes from grass to autumn forest floor, damp earth, and old books. This is the taste of time itself. The microbes are the silent architects of this flavour, working in the dark through the seasons to create a medicine for the digestion and a tonic for the spirit. Visualize these dark, compressed cakes resting in the quiet cellar, breathing the mountain air through their paper wrappers. They are not in a hurry. They know that the best things take time to ripen. You are ripening now too, in the dark, quiet cellar of the night. The microbes of your own dreams are at work, transforming the raw experiences of your day into the rich, mellow wisdom of tomorrow. And as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows. You're part of the living forest, ancient, earthy, and deep. The dark earth of the Pu'er cellar leads us back to the surface, to the light, resonant wood of the chashaku, the bamboo tea scoop. In the Japanese tradition, the scoop is not a mass-produced tool. It is a work of individual philosophy. It is carved from a single piece of bamboo, often from a section that has been aged for decades in the rafters of an old farmhouse, where it has been smoked by the hearth fire. The artisan shaves the bamboo until it is as thin and flexible as a petal, then bends the tip in steam to create a graceful curve. Every chashaku has a personality. Some are sturdy and rustic, others are slender and elegant. The master gives the scoop a name, like morning mist, evening crane, or hidden path. When the scoop moves through the powdered matcha, it makes a sound like a soft sigh. It is a tool of pure intention. Visualize the smooth, cool texture of the bamboo against your fingers, the way it catches the light with a soft, matte sheen. You're like that bamboo, being shaped by the experiences of your life, becoming more refined, more purposeful, and more beautiful with every shaving of the day. You are the hidden path, leading yourself toward the quiet center of the forest. And finally, we find our grounding in the third eye of the tea bowl, the kudai, or the foot of the vessel. In the world of high-end ceramics, the most important part of the bowl is not the rim where you drink, but the underside, where it meets the table. This is the foot, and it is often left unglazed, exposing the raw, gritty texture of the clay itself. The potter's signature is often hidden here, a secret mark known only to those who take the time to turn the bowl over. The foot is the anchor. It is the point of contact between the art and the earth. It is often rough, showing the fingerprints of the fire and the marks of the potter's tools. It is a reminder that even the most beautiful spiritual object must have a solid physical foundation. Visualize that rough, earthy clay at the bottom of your tea bowl, the grit and the strength of the mountainside. Feel your own foot, your heels, your calves, the backs of your legs pressing into the mattress. This is your point of contact with the earth. It is solid. It is real. It is your anchor. You're grounded in this physical reality, even as your mind begins to drift away. The third eye of the bowl is looking down into the earth, and you are following its gaze, down, through the floor, through the soil, into the deep, dark and silent foundation of the world. The solid, unshakable foundation of the bowl's foot provides a silent anchor, but as we lift our gaze from the clay, we encounter a philosophy that finds beauty in the very fact that nothing lasts forever. This is wabi-sabi, the soul of the Japanese tea aesthetic. It is a world where a crack in the glaze is not a flaw, but a hallmark of a life well lived. Visualize a tea bowl that is slightly lopsided, its surface uneven, its colour muted like the bark of an old tree. It does not strive for the cold perfection of a machine. It embraces the rustic, the lonely, and the weathered. In this space, we appreciate the way a bamboo whisk begins to fray at the tips after 1,000 bowls of tea, or the way a bronze kettle develops a dark, mottled patina from the steam of many winters. This philosophy is a soft permission to let go of the perfection we demand of ourselves. It tells us that there is a profound, quiet dignity in our own wear and tear, in our own tired eyes and our own aging hands. You're a masterpiece of wabi-sabi, beautiful because you have endured, beautiful because you are changing. As the light of the day fades into the soft, uneven shadows of the evening, feel the pressure of perfection evaporating from your mind, leaving behind a peaceful, rustic stillness where you are enough, exactly as you are. The weathered texture of the bowl finds its stage upon the chapan, the traditional tea tray that serves as the altar of the tea ceremony. Imagine a heavy slab of dark pear wood or fragrant sandalwood, carved with intricate channels that look like the veins of a leaf or the winding path of a mountain stream. This tray is designed to handle the excess, the water used to warm the cups, the rinse of the first leaves, the accidental spills that are part of the ritual. The water does not sit in puddles. It flows into the wood, disappearing into a hidden reservoir below, or draining away through a slender tube like a miniature waterfall. The tray is the earth of the tea set, absorbing the mess and the overflow so that the ceremony remains clean and focused. The wood is smooth and warm, polished by millions of drops of tea until it glows with a deep internal light. It is a vessel of absorption. You're like this tray now, letting the overflow of the day's worries drain away, watching them flow into the dark, silent channels of the past, until only the clean, warm surface of the present remains. And as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows, your spirit becoming as steady and as absorbent as the ancient wood. The flow of water across the wood carries our thoughts back to the shifting sands of the Silk Road, to the sanctuary of the caravanserai. In the vast, lonely stretches of the Persian deserts and the Central Asian steppes, these stone fortresses were the only islands of safety for the tea merchants. Imagine a massive arched gate made of sun-baked brick, opening into a wide rectangular courtyard. As the sun sets and the desert air turns to ice, the camels are tethered and the heavy tea crates are unloaded. Inside the thick, cool walls of the stone chambers, a fire is lit and the tea is boiled. The scent of the dry, smoky leaves mingles with the smell of roasting spices and camel wool. In the caravanserai, the merchant is no longer a traveller. He is a guest. The walls are 6 feet thick, muffling the howling wind and the shifting dunes outside. To drink tea in this fortress is to feel the absolute triumph of comfort over the wilderness. You're in your own caravanserai now. The desert of the world's noise is outside those walls, and you're safe in the stone-cold silence of your room, warm, protected, and entirely still. The fire is low, the shadows are long, and the journey is paused. Echoing the ancient stones of the desert is the architecture of the human mind, specifically the way the scent of tea is hardwired into your deepest memories. When you inhale the steam of a specific oolong or the floral notes of a jasmine, the molecules travel instantly to the olfactory bulb, a part of the brain directly connected to the amygdala and the hippocampus, the seats of emotion and memory. This is why a single scent can transport you back 20 years to a rainy afternoon in a grandmother's kitchen, or to a quiet moment in a mountain cabin. Tea is a time machine of the senses. It bypasses the logical, thinking mind and speaks directly to the soul. Scientists call this the Proustian phenomenon. When you smell the tea, Your brain isn't just processing a chemical, it is reopening a folder of safety and warmth from your own past. Imagine those folders opening now, the soft golden memories of comfort and love drifting out like slow-moving clouds. You are surrounded by the sense of your life, a fragrant tapestry of moments that remind you that you have been safe before and you are safe now. Your mind is relaxing its grip on the present, drifting back into the soft, blurred warmth of the past, where everything is familiar and everything is kind. This inward journey into memory leads us to the deliberate blackout period of the matcha plant. Just as we seek the dark for our rest, the tea plants destined for the highest grade of matcha are shrouded in total darkness for up to 3 weeks before they are plucked. Imagine the tea fields being covered with layers of black mesh or thick straw mats, creating an artificial night in the middle of spring. Deprived of sunlight, the plant goes into a state of stress-induced brilliance. It cannot perform photosynthesis, so it overproduces chlorophyll and L-theanine in a desperate attempt to catch any stray photon of light. This is what gives matcha its electric neon green colour and its profound, umami sweetness. The plant is working its hardest in the dark, preparing its greatest gift while the world cannot see it. You're in your own shading period now. The world is covered, the light is gone, and in this darkness, your body is performing its own secret alchemy, concentrating your energy, repairing your spirit, and creating the brilliance of tomorrow's clarity. The darkness is not a void, it is a workshop of the soul. As the dark shrouds of the matcha field are lifted, we find ourselves bathed in the pale lunar light of the white peony, or paimutan. While the silver needle consists only of buds, the white peony includes 1 bud and 2 young leaves, creating a more robust but equally ethereal infusion. If the silver needle is the moon's first sliver, the white peony is the moon in its fullness. The leaves are not rolled or shaped. They are simply withered in the sun, allowed to dry into beautiful multicoloured flakes of silver, green, and brown. They look like the fallen leaves of a fairy forest. When brewed, the liquid is the colour of pale hay or white wine, and the taste is of melon, honey, and sun-warmed stone. It is a cooling tea, designed to lower the internal heat of the body and calm the fire of the mind. Visualize those broad, silvery leaves floating in the water, unfurling with an unhurried aquatic grace. They are light, they are cool, they are floating. Feel that coolness moving through your own veins. A pale silver liquid that puts out the last embers of the day's agitation, leaving you as calm and as clear as a reflection in a still mountain pond. The circular fullness of the peony leaf leads us back into the history of the Song dynasty, to the opulent world of the dragon and phoenix tea cakes. In the 11th century, tea was not a loose leaf, but a highly compressed artistic sculpture. The leaves were ground into a paste, flavoured with rare aromatics like musk or camphor, and pressed into intricate moulds. One side would be embossed with the dragon, the symbol of the emperor's power, and the other with the phoenix, the symbol of the empress's grace. These cakes were often gilded with actual gold leaf and given as tribute to the imperial court. They were symbols of status and eternity. To prepare the tea, a small piece of the dragon would be broken off and whisked into a froth. Imagine the golden dragon being dissolved into a jade-coloured foam, the power and the myth merging with the water. It is a reminder that even the most formidable dragons of our lives, our great challenges and our heavy responsibilities, can be softened and dissolved by the ritual of the tea. They are just shapes in the clay. They melt away in the heat, and as the dragon dissolves, your breathing slows. Your own power is finding rest in the grace of the night, balanced, ancient, and still. Echoing the intricate patterns of the imperial cakes are the tiny invisible structures on the tea leaf itself, the trichomes. If you were to look at a young tea bud under a powerful lens, you would see that it is not smooth, but covered in a dense, shimmering forest of tiny glass-like hairs. These are the trichomes, and they are the silver down that protects the plant. In the living plant, these hairs act as tiny mirrors, reflecting the harsh UV light of the high mountains and trapping a layer of still air against the leaf to prevent it from freezing. They are a thermal blanket for the bud. When you brew the tea, these tiny hairs detach and float in the liquid, creating a shimmering cloud that catches the light. This cloudiness is the hallmark of the highest quality. It is the presence of the newborn energy of the plant. You're wrapped in your own trichomes now. The soft, fine fibres of your blankets are your thermal shield, protecting you from the chill of the world, reflecting away the noise of the light, and keeping your bud of consciousness safe and warm in the dark. While the physical hairs protect the leaf, the invisible energy of the tea, the cha-ki, protects the spirit. This is a concept that defies Western science, but is felt by every tea master. Qi is the vital life force, the breath of the plant. When you drink a tea with strong cha-chi, you don't just feel the flavour, you feel a physical hum in your body. It might start as a warmth in the pit of the stomach, then travel up the spine, settling as a gentle pressure at the temples or a tingling in the fingertips. It is the energy of the mountain entering your system. It is not a stimulant, it is a harmonizer. It aligns your internal vibrations with the vibration of the earth. People describe the feeling as entering a warm room on a cold day, or the feeling of a heavy hand resting kindly on your shoulder. You're feeling that cha-chi now? It is the warm hum in your own chest, the steady rhythmic vibration of your heart, the feeling of being plugged into the deep silent battery of the earth. You are part of the energy, you are part of the hum, and as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows, you are vibrating at the frequency of the stars. Finally, we find our physical path to the tea house, walking the roji, or the dewy path. In the Japanese tea garden, the roji is a short winding path of stones that leads from the chaotic world into the sanctuary of the tea room. It is designed to be a cleaning ritual for the mind. The stones are often uneven, forcing you to look down and walk slowly. The path is lined with thick, vibrant moss that smells of damp earth and ancient shade. There are no bright, distracting flowers here, only different shades of green and the grey of the stones. Along the path is a sukubai, a small stone water basin where you stop to rinse your hands and your mouth, symbolically washing away the dust of the world. The water is cold and clear. The sound of it dripping back into the stone is the only music. You are on the roji right now. Each fact you have heard is a stepping stone, pulling you further away from the city, further away from the noise, deeper into the moss and the mist. You have reached the stone basin. You have washed away the day. The door to the tea room, the door to sleep, is just a few steps away. It is low, it is small, and it is waiting for you. The dew is on the leaves, the path is clear, and the silence is absolute. Beyond the low door of the tea room, where the world of dust is washed away by the sound of the dripping basin, we find ourselves in the heart of the Wodui pile, the deliberate controlled ripening of the dark Shupu'er. Imagine a vast quiet warehouse in the mountains of Yunnan, where the air is thick with the scent of damp earth, roasted nuts, and aged wood. Here, the tea leaves are not spread thin, but gathered into great steaming mounds, covered with heavy linen cloths to preserve their internal heat. This is a sanctuary of transformation. Inside the pile, a natural microbial fire is burning, a slow alchemy that mimics decades of aging in a few short weeks. The leaves are sweating, the chemistry shifting from the sharp, astringent green of youth to the deep, wine-dark mahogany of wisdom. The tea masters move through the shadows like ghosts, turning the piles with wooden shovels to let the tea breathe, then tucking them back in to continue their slumber. It is a process of deep, humid intensity. Visualize the steam rising from the dark leaves, catching a single stray beam of light from a high window, turning the vapour into a column of swirling gold. The tea is learning the secret of the earth. the secret of the root, the secret of the deep, dark places where life begins anew. And as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows. You're sinking into the warmth of the pile, safe, hidden, and changing at the pace of the earth. The humid intensity of the ripening pile finds its counterpoint in the mathematical precision of the chasen, the Japanese bamboo whisk. In the village of Takayama, artisans have spent 500 years perfecting the art of splitting the wood. Imagine a single cylinder of seasoned bamboo, pale and smooth, held in the calloused hands of a master carver. With a knife as sharp as a thought, the master begins to split one end of the bamboo into dozens, sometimes over 100, impossibly thin tines. Each tine is as slender as a human hair, yet possesses the resilient spring of the living forest. The tips are then curved inward in hot water, creating a shape like a closing tulip or a graceful claw. This is the tool that creates the jade foam of matcha. The chasen is a bridge between the rigid strength of the bamboo and the fluid softness of the water. When it moves through the bowl, it is not a struggle. It is a vibratory dance. The sound, sheer sheer sheer, is the sound of the wind moving through a bamboo grove at midnight. Visualize the pale, golden wood of the whisk against the deep, vibrant green of the tea. It is a study in contrasts, the hard and the soft, the tool and the liquid. You're as resilient as that bamboo, flexible, strong, and capable of creating beauty from the simplest movements. While the whisk carves the air, the tea itself carves its mark onto the history of the world through the art of tea staining. For centuries, the rich tannins in the leaf have been used as a natural dye, a way of aging paper and fabric to give it the weight of antiquity. Imagine a piece of fresh white parchment being dipped into a bath of strong, dark Assam tea. The paper drinks the liquid, and as it dries, it takes on a warm sepia tone, the colour of old memories and lost maps. The rings left by a teacup on a scholar's desk are not stains. They are chronological markers, the rings of a tree in the forest of thought. This sepia light is the natural colour of the past. It is a soft, forgiving hue that blurs the harsh lines of the present. Visualise a library filled with these tea-stained pages, the smell of old paper and dried leaves, the way the sunlight through the dust motes matches the colour of the parchment. You are staining your own mind with peace right now. A soft golden patina is settling over your thoughts, smoothing the white glare of the day into the warm brown twilight of the night. And as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows. Your spirit is as calm and as permanent as a mark on an ancient scroll. The permanence of the stain leads us back to the fleeting solar ritual of sun drying. In the high, windy terraces of Fujian, the white peony tea is not fired in an oven. It is laid out on massive bamboo racks to catch the sun. Imagine thousands of these circular racks, stretching out across the hillside like a field of giant wooden coins. The leaves are spread thin, exposed to the gentle filtered light of a spring afternoon. They are at the mercy of the wind and the sky. This is a living wither. The sun provides a slow, natural heat that triggers a very slight, accidental oxidation, giving the tea its complex notes of melon and honey. There is no machine noise here, only the hush of the wind through the drying leaves and the distant call of a mountain bird. The light is silver and soft, casting long geometric shadows from the bamboo racks across the red earth. It is a process of total exposure and total trust. You're on that hillside now. The sun is warm on your skin, but the breeze is cool. You're lying still, letting the elements move through you, drying away the dampness of your worries, leaving you light, silver, and sweet. The stillness of the hillside eventually shifts into the vast shifting heat of the Sahara, where we encounter the blue men of the desert, the Tuareg. In this world of endless sand and blinding light, tea is the only true sanctuary. Here, the ritual is performed over a small bed of glowing charcoal, sheltered from the wind by a blue veil. The tea is prepared in a small metal pot, heavily sweetened and flavoured with fresh mint. But the Tuareg follow a law of three. The first glass of tea is bitter as life. It is strong, dark and awakening. The second glass is strong as love. It is sweet, aromatic and comforting. The third glass is gentle as death. It is pale, diluted and incredibly peaceful. This cycle is a map of the human experience. As you drink the third glass in your mind, the heat of the desert becomes a warm, protective embrace. The blue of the robes matches the deep blue of the Saharan night sky, which is now filling with 1 billion diamond-sharp stars. The sand is cool now, the camels are silent, and the 3 glasses have led you to the final gentle threshold. You're in the third glass, where the bitterness is gone, and only the sweet pale memory of the day remains. While the desert sky expands above, the microscopic forest of the inner body is finding its own peace through the work of the tea's antioxidants. We return to the inner landscape, visualizing the complex network of your veins and arteries as a vast, winding river system. In this liquid world, the free radicals, the jagged, unstable molecules produced by stress and fatigue, are like debris floating in the current, causing tiny frictions against the banks. But the tea brings the cleaners. The polyphenols and catechins move through the river like a fleet of silver boats, gently netting the debris and smoothing the water. It is a process of deep internal grooming. As you rest, the forest of your tissues is being pruned and protected. The inflammation of the day is subsiding, like the cooling of a forest floor after a fire. Feel that green energy moving through your limbs. A cool liquid light that is mending the microscopic tears and soothing the friction. You're being cleaned from the inside out. Your inner river is becoming clear, still, and deep. And as this internal cleaning concludes, your muscles lose their last grip on the world, and you are as refreshed as a woodland stream. The clarity of the inner river allows us to appreciate the dizzying complexity of the tea aroma wheel. Scientists have identified over 600 volatile aromatic compounds in a single leaf, more than are found in the most complex red wines. To look at the aroma wheel is to see a kaleidoscope of the natural world. One segment is stone fruit, peaches, apricots, and plums. Another is floral, lilies, orchids, and orange blossoms. Then there is the earth, wet wood, moss, and roasted grain. When you smell a cup of tea, you are performing a sensory scan of the entire planet. Your brain is lighting up in response to these ancient chemical signatures. Imagine the wheel spinning slowly in your mind, the colours blurring into a soft rainbow-coloured mist. You don't need to name the scents, you only need to let them wash over you. It is a perfume of the world that anchors you to the earth while allowing your imagination to soar. The scent is a tether, and as the wheel slows to a stop, it lands on the scent of night jasmine, a fragrance that smells like sleep itself. From the fleeting scent, we fall back to the heavy, silent potential of the tea seed. Before there is a leaf, there is a small, round, dark brown sphere about the size of a marble. This is the seed of the Camellia sinensis. It is a dense vault of energy, protected by a hard, woody shell. Within this shell is a high concentration of natural oils, stored to fuel the long, slow process of germination. The tea seed does not rush. It can sit in the cool, dark earth for months, waiting for the precise combination of moisture and warmth. It is a master of the long wait. Visualize the seed resting in the rich black soil of a mountain terrace, surrounded by the silence of the minerals. It is sleeping a deep, heavy sleep. It has no leaves to rustle, no flowers to show. It is simply a point of pure potential. You are that seed right now. You have withdrawn your energy from the surface. You have pulled your leaves back into your shell. You're resting in the cool, dark earth of your bed, waiting for nothing, needing nothing, just being. The pressure of the soil is a comfort. The darkness is a womb. You're safe in the long wait. The silence of the seed finds its human expression in the monastery gardens of the high peaks. For over 1,000 years, the finest teas have been grown in the shadows of temples and monasteries. Here, the tea is a partner in the great silence. Imagine a stone-walled terrace, high above the clouds, where the only sounds are the rhythmic clapper of a prayer wheel and the distant low chant of monks in the main hall. The tea plants here are prayed over, their growth synchronized with the bells that mark the hours of the day. The monks use the tea to stay awake during the midnight vigil, yet it also provides the calm necessary for the deep meditation. The tea is a bridge between the alert and the asleep. In the monastery garden, there is no time as we know it. There is only the cycle of the sun and the moon. Visualize the mist rolling over the stone walls, blurring the distinction between the temple and the mountain. You are in that garden now. The bells of the night are ringing, telling you that the work of the spirit is done, the great silence has begun, and the mountain is inviting you to sleep. And finally, we arrive at the final rinse, the physical act of concluding the tea session. The last of the tea is poured, and the cups are rinsed with the remaining hot water. Watch the clear water swirling in the porcelain bowl, washing away the last of the amber stains. The tea leaves are gently removed from the pot and return to the earth, their mission complete. The master uses a soft silk cloth to wipe the tray, the wood glowing one last time before the light is extinguished. There is a profound sense of order in this cleanup. It is the closing of a circle. The pot is empty, the cup is clean, the tray is dry, the session is finished. There is nothing left to do. This is the most peaceful moment of all, the afterglow of the tea. Feel that same afterglow in your own body now. The session of your day is concluded, the rinsing of your mind is complete, and the tray of your life is clean and dry. You're ready to be put away for the night. The box is lined with velvet, the lid is closing, the light is out, the silence is yours. The final secret of this long winding journey through the mountains and the mists lies not in the leaf itself, nor in the heat of the water, but in the profound mystery of the tea of no tea. In the highest reaches of the meditative arts, there comes a moment when the physical cup is set aside. The steam has long since vanished, and the leaves have returned to the earth. What remains is a state of being where the tea is no longer a guest in the body, but has become the body itself. This is the 101st wonder, the realization that you are the final destination of this 5,000-year-old pilgrimage. Every drop of rain that fell on a Yunnan hillside, every hour of sunlight that warmed a Darjeeling terrace, and every hand that turned a firing wok was working in service of this exact moment of your tranquility. The tea has dissolved its identity into your blood, your bones, and your spirit. There is no longer a distinction between the drinker and the drink. You have absorbed the patience of the ancient trees, the resilience of the high-altitude shrubs, and the stillness of the Zen gardens. The 101st wonder is the internal brew, the perpetual state of calm that you now carry within you, independent of any vessel. You are the mountain, you are the mist, you are the silent golden liquor of peace that never runs dry. The cup is empty, and in that emptiness everything is contained. You have found the centre of the circle, the point of absolute rest where the world stops turning and the soul begins to sing in a frequency beyond sound. The images on the screen are fading now. The colours are bleeding into a soft monochromatic grey, and then into the deepest, most comforting black. The journey of the eyes is over. The journey of the mind is settling. Your subconscious library is full, the 101 truths shelved in the quiet, velvet-lined corridors of your memory. They are safe there. They are yours. You do not need to reach for them. They will support you from the shadows, a foundation of ancient wisdom beneath the structure of your dreams. The air in the room is cool, the weight of the blankets is a heavy, warm mountain, and your body is sinking through the layers of the day, through the layers of the years. The rhythm of your heart is the only clock now, and it is slowing, matching the pace of the hibernating seed, matching the pace of the aging cake in the cellar. Everything is still. The fire in the kettle has become a single glowing ember, and now even that ember is dimming, turning to a soft silver ash. The steam has all gone home to the sky. The path of stones is covered in moss. The low door is closed and locked. There is nothing left to hear. There is nothing left to know. The silence is a warm liquid, filling the room, filling your mind, filling the spaces between your breaths. You're floating on the surface of a dark, infinite tea, perfectly balanced, perfectly warm, perfectly anonymous. The world of dust has vanished. You are the tea of no tea, you are the silence, and now 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now, good night.